Okay, officially welcome everybody to our session today. We're going to start with a practice reviewing the previous two aspects of the healing smile, and then we'll move into the healing smile when the sun is shining inside of us, like specifically going into each of the single organs and each of the single glands. And then I'd like to discuss today this idea of the body, of the divine body as our body as being the cosmic temple, which is really what separates I think a lot of the religious traditions, external practices and spiritual external practices to the idea of what we call internal practices. Internal not just being internal to the physical body, but internal to consciousness. And that's why I send you this text on the divine body by it's from a book called The Doctrine of Vibration. It's a very good book that I suggest everybody to read. It's not an easy read. It's an extremely profound book, but it's a very important book for anybody who really wants to deepen their understanding of what a spiritual practice is, beyond God out there and you out here, which is a dualistic aspect. So the essence of our practices is what we call a non-dualistic approach. Like there's not the world there and we here, God there, we here, the deities out there, the Buddha out there, and we here. The idea is like as our practice expands, well, let's say as our practice gives us the ability to expand our sense of self-awareness, we gradually start realizing and experiencing life more and more as the divine experiences itself. So that's really the key to our practices. And it's something that, obviously I grew up in a context, like I imagine like many of you, that was, in my case, was Catholic, but it was Christian, and the divine was something out there that was like represented by this bloody guy on a cross, like with a poor face of suffering so much. And it was always like an external thing that you were either rewarded by being good or punished by being bad, and those definitions of good and bad were defined by somebody at some point, who knows what. So I'm sure this sounds familiar to many of you, and that's the way in which things are done, because the human intellect works based on this experience of I'm here, the world is there, and therefore I have to make sense of this. But at some point in these traditions, at some point in these practices, the people who had the practitioners who had more insight realized that there's an awareness that is one's awareness that pervades everything that is, and that by experiencing more and more that awareness, we can start realizing that everything that we experience is an experience of consciousness itself. So that's really what that's summarized very simply, and might sound a bit naive. I love when things sound naive, because usually naive, it's very often very much to the point, without these complications of the intellect. So this is really the essence of what makes extraordinary moments. When I look at what have been extraordinary moments in my life, when I encourage you to look what, not now, whenever, what have been the extraordinary moments in your life, externally might seem that they might have been related to events, but for me, they always have been moments where I have felt extremely alive, but being extremely present in a way that was just simply at ease. So this is why the gradually the healing smile is gradually taking us. It's taking us from the more external to the surface aspect. Today we'll go to the inner aspect of the organs and the glands, and we'll see how our glands have and organs, inner organs, have different functions beyond the physical. And then gradually the healing smile takes us to the aspect where all that is transcended and dissolved in a state of being, which is what we'll do in our next session. And that all this is extremely exquisite and extremely beautiful. And so through all these practices and all these years of research and I've been reading some of these books and doing some of these practices pretty consistently for close to 30 years now. And so it wasn't too long ago, a few years back, when I got the Bible again. I had a Bible that I had bought, and I had one of these Bibles that has the words of Jesus in red. So you just cut to the chase. What did the boss say? Okay, you don't need to read through everything. And there was this incredible sense of realization. There in the Gospel of John, there's I think it's 15:4, like the passage. It says, "Abide in me as I in you." And when I read those few words, "Abide in me as I in you," suddenly all my Eastern spiritual teachings, all my travels through the world, all my encounters with shamans, all everything that I have been doing, which many of you have done in similar ways, in your own personal way. At that moment, everything kind of made sense and was able to join my upbringing and with all my further personal interest and research, and it was able to not only join it, but it was able to completely be able to realize, oh, this has been here all along. So for me, it was extremely beautiful. This, oh, abide in me as I in you. So there's this awareness that is in us, that is in everything else all the time. And the path is, the more we can abide on it, the more we can realize our nature. The less we abide on it, and we get more distracted by the objects of the world, and we are taken over by our emotions, by our feelings, by whatever drama. So the further away we are from that. And that's really the basic, the very, very basic teaching that is at the core of everything that we do. Okay. So